What up, everybody? Happy April. Uh, the Opps SportsCast is back live. We got a jam-packed show with a lot of things happening in the sports world, and we're happy to be here. Spring is in the air, at least over here it is, from what I hear. We're going to be talking everything from what's happening in the NBA, Jaden Ivey getting released by the Chicago Bulls over comments and statements that he has made basically professing his faith. And so we're going to be getting into that craziness and the fallout from that as well as it crosses multi sports. Tiger Woods was in the news this past week, and not for good reasons. Suspicion of DUI. So we're going to be getting into that as well. We're going to be talking all things March Madness as we just concluded the month of March, including the wildest finish that we've seen in quite some time between Duke and UConn. And of course, it's the Opps SportsCast. You know the fellas are gonna want to talk about the first week of baseball, and baseball is finally here. And so we're gonna be getting into that and probably knowing us much, much more. But if it's your first time with us, make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. It helps us with the algorithms. We're on multiple platforms. Make sure you tell your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, whoever about us and join the conversation. Jump in the chat, whether it's live or in the replay. We do check the replay comments, and we will, maybe even shout you out. But let's get right into it. We got the whole crew with us. Let me introduce to you the starting lineup. Immediately to the side of me, we have our boy back from vacation. Bum, 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 bum.
Pew, pew. Josh from East Side.
Yes, sir. And immediately below,
It's your boy Big Zeke.
in the building, and last but certainly not least,
What's up, everybody? It's Dave in the cut.
the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Opps Sportscast. Let's just jump right into it. Let's get
Do
on
it.
to the first topic of the day. And if you're new with us, our sportscast has always been, with a Christian slant to it, right? As all the brothers, we all know each other from church, back in our hometown of Rochester, New York. Shout out to the Rock. And so when this story hit the lines, it was something that was, immediately rung in all of our ears. As it was something that was a little bit shocking, but for a lot of people, because it's been making its rounds. Jaden Ivey, a former fifth round draft pick of the 2022 in the 2022 NBA draft, now finds himself on the Chicago Bulls. Was recently released for statements that he made on Instagram. Now, I'm not sure if we have that video footage, do we?
We don't. Nope.
Okay, so basically, there was multiple clips of him essentially sharing his faith. It sounds like he was new to the Lord, and he recently he must have just gave his life to Christ because he was stating in the locker room in an interview that the old J.I., referring to himself, Jaden Ivey, was dead, and the new man in Christ is now alive. And so, in the process of that, he made some controversial comments while he was driving, and controversial in that he was just talking about how the NBA celebrates Pride Month in the month of June, and how obviously with his newfound faith, Christianity obviously it goes against pride in general, but more specifically it also goes against um, you know uh, the kind of pride that obviously that we see in June, where everybody becomes essentially a part of the alphabet community for a month. Let's just put it like that. And so um, he's received a lot of backlash, right? And we don't even know if he'll get a job again or who will pick him up. But what we wanted to talk about today was just the crazy fallout of all of that. And so the first question that essentially that we pose is, with everything that is happening in the sports world, um, given the comments that he's made, is that something? We all have jobs. We all have jobs, and there's a decorum in those workspaces. Is that something he should have been released over? Josh, I'll start with you.
Um, I'll give the I'll give the Josh PC answer, and then I'll give the Josh Real answer. PC answer is I believe there's a place and a time for everything. Even PC is not so much biblically backed, but I'll add a biblical reference to this PC answer. There's a time for war, and there's a time for peace. There's a time for love, and there's a time for hate. Right? The Bible speaks of this in Psalms, and I believe that there's a time and a place for everything. With that said, I think Jaden Ivey knew the risk that came with his um, IG post. And so I would say, based on the standard that the NBA has set, whether you agree or not agree, I believe that any organization that stands on whatever they stand on has a right to get rid of somebody who does not align with those beliefs. So that's my PC answer. The the firm believer Josh Tuminelli answer is um, I believe Jaden Ivey, as stated, is a young believer. And I think that he could have done things a little differently. Um, and I believe that he had pure intention and a good heart behind the message, but this was a learning instance for him. So I don't believe that any one individual should be basically blackballed or lose their financial income over their personal beliefs. Whether you are a believer in God or a believer in pride, or a believer in Buddha or a believer in the Muslim faith, I don't believe, based on the beliefs and the standings that the United States says it was founded on, deserve to be cut or released from an agency because of that reason. And so Josh the believer applauds Jaden Ivey, and I stand behind his sentiment, although I think that it could be better um, better relayed, and it could have come off probably the wrong way. And not every word that came from his mouth was, in my opinion, from a place of love. He did tear down in some instances. He did bash in some instances. There are some individuals who he spoke out against. And so, again, there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that this is a great learning curve for him. But I do understand why it happened. I do see why it happened, and truth will always try to be silenced. Um, and that's kind of my take.
Dave.
I'm really trying to I'm trying to look at this from a leadership standpoint. We all know that everybody has a right to their opinion on things. Even in the workplace, you have a right to your opinion in the workplace on things. But at some point, while you're conjuring up your thoughts and your opinions before you speak them, you need to understand that you do have a boss, a person who's in leadership that may or may not agree with that. And if you don't have a failsafe or a governor on yourself on when you make these comments, sometimes you can go a little too far. So my understanding is that this gentleman is, he's fresh in his faith walk, and we know a lot of times when people are fresh in their faith walk, they're overzealous, they're on fire, and they're doing anything and everything to show their walk and what direction they're going in, like their life, that their lives have changed. They're on fire and they want to represent that to the people that are closest to them. And in this situation, I feel like this young man, he definitely he went a little too far with it. I think it's one thing when you have an opinion on something, but then when you lace it with attacks on your employer, I think that's a whole other thing. I feel like if he had just said his piece about how he felt about it, things might have turned out differently for him. Now, do I disagree with him standing up for himself? No, I don't. But I think that there should have been he should have used wisdom before taking his stand and making his stance known. Now I do understand that there's other athletes coming out reposting, what he said and stuff like that. And their leadership, those other athletes, their leadership is coming to them and saying, "Hey, we get why you feel this way, and we just want you to be informed." I believe it was Mike Vrabel said there was a player on his team. He wanted the player to be informed, right? And basically, what that means is, I want you to understand and realize who cuts the check. That's what that means. I want you to check yourself before you don't get a check, you know. And there are certain athletes that are in a position where they can actually speak up and say these things. You know what I'm saying? They can say what they want to say. And there's ones that and they don't. Let's just also add that in there. And they don't. And there's ones that that do speak on it. And they kind of they you look at look at Kyrie. You know what I mean? Kyrie has always been somebody that's spoke his mind about matters, and no matter how hard they tried, to blackball him, it really hasn't worked. It's the media has been more of the vehicle to blackball him than his employer, so to speak. But he's an asset to the NBA, and I think that's the thing. It's like if this kid had some kind of pull, I think the outcome would have been differently. But because he's not a Kyrie Irving, you know what I'm saying? His not only is his argument going to fall on deaf ears, but it's also going to find him, in a rough spot, with the organization. So everybody has a right to say what they want to say. It's just I think you really have to look at you just have to be very careful about the path you take to saying it. That's what I want to say about that.
So here's my take on this, right? So they essentially released him because it was considered conduct detrimental to the team, right? And we'll just shout out Lucito Alberto Diaz. Ivy spoke what the silent PC NBA Christians wouldn't say because they love money too much. Psh, tell it, bro. But uh, he got released because of conduct detrimental to the team. Now the crazy thing is, it's not like he said this while he was playing basketball on the NBA court or immediately afterwards. He said this on his own time, right? On his own platform. And so, like, how is that? Like, I don't understand how that's conduct detrimental to the team. And so, like, because he was voicing his beliefs. Now, I understand it's like hard because, like, when you first get saved, they call it almost like cage stage in where like you're just so amped up, you're a new person, and you just want to take on the world, tell the world about it, and like he needs better, like, and this is where I agree with you fellas. Like, I think he needed a little bit better guidance to use a little bit better wisdom. They call it K stage for a reason, just to kind of like, contain like the brother from doing something like, just, crazy, and getting a little bit ahead of themselves before they've had a chance to digest more of the word, and use wisdom, like you were saying, Dave, in those kind of circumstances. But, I don't think the NBA is in any position to criticize him for stating his faith or his religion, especially in this context when he's talking about Pride Month. And let me tell you why. Look up the definition of religion. Definition of religion is a structured system of belief, practices, rituals, and symbols designed to facilitate a relationship between the divine. I would argue Pride Month is its own religion. I would argue that because these people, like when you say, hey, like, Dave, are you a Christian? Yeah, I'm a Christian. That's how you identify. You're a Christian? Yeah, I'm a Christian, bro. When you talk to folks in the alphabet community, right? That's how they identify. Like that's the main thing that they want people to know about themselves. Otherwise, why talk about like what's happening in your bedroom, in the public? You want people to understand that this is what you're doing in your private bedroom. You want to identify as that. That's a whole religion, because that is a system of beliefs, right? And practices, right? And rituals. So much so that if you go against their religion, they want to publicly martyr you, right? Publicly crucify you, right? And so much so that, hey, everybody needs to be celebrating my religion during this month. Well, my argument is, well, when do they celebrate the Christian religion in any given month in that context in the NBA? NBA is the one who brought religion into this, not Jaden Ivey. And so, like, how you gonna like criticize this man for speaking what he believes when you're forcing what another group believes down everybody's throats, right? And so that's where it's a no go for me, because it's like, you have these competing ideas, right? You got these competing ideas, and it's reaching a crossroad, unfortunately, right? Where and we'll talk about this in a second as well, because there's some escalating matters going around in the culture about this as well. But I don't think that anything he did should be considered detrimental, and I think it's a bad look for the NBA when you have in sports leagues where you can't tolerate this kind of behavior, but you could tolerate a whole mess of other things. You know what I mean? Especially like when we talk about the fact that Travion Henderson literally retweeted what Jaden Ivey said and added a scripture quote to it, and then he was basically chewed out by his coach from the New England Patriots, basically just saying like, hey, like we need to talk about inclusivity. Like, I mean, inclusivity doesn't include Christians, but who we including in this inclusivity? It's not Christians. It's somebody else outside of that. So like to me, it's they're like, like it's a bad look for the culture. And so like I think like yeah, I think it's telling. It's very telling of what is acceptable and not acceptable on the NBA stage. There's another context to it. Before I jump into that, Zeke, I'll let you kind of like get your views out.
When I look at this situation, I don't necessarily see it the way you guys do. Um, I'm I don't see Jaden Ivey as this martyr, if you will. Jaden Ivey didn't get cut because of his IG posts. Jaden Ivey got caught or got cut after his IG post. But if you look into the whole situation, the Bulls had already been looking into moving on from Jaden Ivey. It's just the timing of it made it look like he got cut because he's a Christian professing his faith and stating what he believes in. Um, the conduct detrimental to the team wasn't necessarily the content of the IG post. The conduct detrimental to the team was the way he came at Steph Curry and Michael Jordan and LeBron James and others calling them unrighteous and judging them for how they act and the stuff that they do. He was doing that in the locker room with his teammates. Now, um, like Josh said earlier, there's a time and place for everything. And as you guys have stated multiple times with other topics, when you said when you show or when you turn the TV on to watch a certain sporting event, you don't want to hear about everybody's political ideas or their lifestyle choices or the stuff that they support and all that good stuff. Well, I'm pretty sure when the players and coaches come to the locker room for a game, they don't want to hear somebody in their face talking about how unrighteous they are and how they need to do this and how they need to do that. Um, it's an NBA locker room. It's a workplace environment, and I know at my job, um, we had to limit conversations about religion and politics because it gets contentious. Because some people don't know how to approach those topics, and if you come at somebody the wrong way, we're talking about grown men. They're not just going to sit back and let you be in their face talking about how evil they are, how unrighteous they are, and they need to be doing this and they need to be doing that. It's going to get contentious. So, the way I look at it, the timing of it made it seem like, oh, he's a martyr for his faith, when the whole time that wasn't the case at all. There's plenty of Christians in the NBA. He's not the first Christian NBA player, he won't be the last. But I'm pretty sure you don't have Christians just coming at their teammates because of the way they live their life or whatever, talking about, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, that's unrighteous. There's ways to have those conversations, all right? And it just sounds like he was approaching it wrong the whole time. The when you look further into the story, according to his own post, his family has cut him off. Like his wife won't even respond to his text messages. So there's a lot more going on where, I mean, he called Catholicism a fake religion. His mother's a coach at Notre Dame. So he when you look at his comments, it's not only affecting him, it's affecting possibly her being a coach for a women's basketball team at a Catholic school. Now she's got to deal with probably having to answer questions about her son's comments. Um, I don't know what his wife does for a living, but she has to go to work and answer questions about her husband's comments to the point where he's claiming she don't even want to do nothing to do with him. She's not responding to his text messages. So there's something deeper going on than just him being a Christian professing his faith. And it's not. I know it's kind of taboo to look at mental health issues when somebody starts going and speaking out about how much they love God and how much the world is evil and blah blah blah. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was something going on. I mean, the man, he was a top 5 pick in the NBA, broke his leg, and he ain't been the same since. I don't know what that does to your mentals, but uh, yeah, I don't see him as a martyr. I don't see this as the NBA blackballing him because of his faith. I see this as that was the latest in a string of incidents, and the Bulls, like I said, they were already looking to get rid of him. They were already looking to move part ways with him.
Yeah.
This just happened to be the last act that he performed as a Chicago Bull. So yeah, it's not a he got cut because of his faith. It's he got cut because there's a lot of stuff going on, possibly some mental health issues that the man needs help. That's my opinion. Somebody needs to come up alongside of him if he's new to the faith or if he's recently renewed his faith. Cool, then he needs somebody to come up alongside of him and guide him because the way he's going at it right now, it's like he it's not gonna end well for him. That's my opinion.
David, sounds like you wanted to jump in there. Okay.
Yeah, nah,
Okay.
I was
Okay.
just all I was gonna just say was that I don't look at him as a martyr at all. My take was it's a lack of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? This young man is where he is because of his own doing. You know, as Christians, as much as we have our stances on certain things, culturally, politically, whatever, the one thing that we all have is grace. That's the one thing that we may go throughout our day, and we deal with different people, and we all deal with situations differently, right? But at the end of the day, as Christian men, what's required of us is to show grace, right? And in our walk, if we run into people whose opinions or views or lifestyles different from ours, that's not an open invitation. Being a Christian man is not an open invitation to go beat them over the head with the Bible and with Scripture. It's to show grace, right? It's to let our light shine, right? Our light is supposed to shine, and we're supposed to show grace. And this young man, here's another thing for me. I think anytime that we see people, especially people in the age group of this young man, anytime we see them something going on in their lives, a lot of times we jump right to mental health. And mental health is always it's for me. I think this is just my opinion. I think mental health gets thrown out when accountability should be put in. I think a lot of times I know plenty of people. I look at Jason Williams, right? Jay Williams, phenomenal basketball player, tore his leg up, man. Was a legend at Duke, came in drafted by the Bulls, tore his leg up and messed his career up. By his own admission, he messed his career up. Got addicted to oxy and all kinds of stuff. Jay Williams didn't go scorched earth. He found the Lord during that time, and he didn't go scorched earth with all that he was going on. This kid almost lost his leg, and he lost his NBA career. But he didn't. He. You talk about a classic case of somebody who could have, mental health issues. I think that we a lot of times we put that on. We give that as an outfit for these athletes, man. When we see them acting out of character and acting lethargic and doing all of this, wilding out and stuff like that. When when I know what mental health issues look like, when I have family member deal with mental health issues, and I see it and I stare it in the face, I don't agree with that. I don't. I just think this kid.
Not all mental health looks the same though. I mean, I got some people look at my son and they'll tell me he's not autistic because he's not drooling over himself or because he can talk or because he can get himself dressed. There's levels to it. Like not all mental health looks the same. So what you see in your personal circle with people dealing with mental health issues might not be the same thing that he's dealing with. And maybe it's not mental health. I'm just saying somebody needs to look into it and make sure he's okay. But at the same time, like if he is doing this on his own volition, then he did this to himself. Like I
Agree
and
100%. I agree 100%.
if that's the case, then somebody needs to come alongside him and kind of straighten him out a little bit. Like, hey, this is what you believe. This is great. Going around throwing your opinions in people's face unsolicited is going to get you these kinds of consequences. I mean, this isn't a nation where it's a theocracy. Like if you want to talk that type of talk at work, go work at a church or go work at a Christian school where you're not going to offend nobody like that because they're going to believe the same thing you want to believe. But if you're working in an environment like an NBA locker room where you got people from all kinds of walks, there's ways to have those conversations. You see somebody doing something, pull them aside and have a conversation like, "Hey, I see what you're doing. I used to do the same type of stuff or whatever. I found Jesus. he's helped me get rid of these different vices or whatever. Do that, but it doesn't sound like that's what he was doing. It sounded like he was coming at people like he came at Steph. Because he got a tattoo, y'all think he's a Christian. He be cussing like there was. Have a conversation with Steph. Y'all in the same NBA. Y'all part of the same fraternity. Call him up. Hey, Steph, what's going on? I noticed you doing this, this, and this. It's not very becoming of a Christian. Why do you do that? Do you think you can act a certain kind of way? You think you could change that up a little bit? It's not a good look to be doing that. But
And
to call a man out on IG, like that's mad judgmental, and that's one of the biggest gripes that people have with Christians. So he's doing more
yeah,
hurt than good, I believe,
for sure.
to Christian faith.
Yeah, I would say that I think everybody here kind of like started with that. You know what I mean? Like I was, Josh was talking about like, like, hey, like he might have worded it differently. He was trying to be like PC about it. Same thing with Dave. He said that he felt like he. Same thing with me. I was talking about how he was like, it sounded like he's in cage stage where he really needs to be kind of locked up and just kind of like maybe mentored a little bit more to kind of be taught the scriptures a little bit more to kind of like know how to say the scriptures seasoned with salt a little bit, you know what I mean, with a little bit of flavor, with a little bit of gentleness, a little bit more of the fruit of the spirit, if you will, right? You know what I mean? Where it's, it comes off in a better way. And I think we're all on that same page. But two things can't be true at once. You know what I mean? Where, I mean, at the same time, you're saying like, well, hey, he needs to learn that you can't say these kind of things. These are the consequences for stuff like that. But at the same time, the Bills were going to cut him anyway, so this wasn't the consequence of what the Bills were doing. So it's
Bulls.
either one or the other.
That's the
Either this
Bulls.
is the
You
consequence of
on
what he
football,
said,
man.
or
It's
it's
the
not.
Bulls.
You know what I mean? And so, like, at the end of the day, like all these leagues are talking about like how they want to promote inclusivity, but it's at the cost of Bible believing Christians, and we're seeing that more and more, not just in the sports world, because we see this now happen in the NBA, and we see it happen in the NFL. But what I kind of want to transition to is because this is the reason why we wanted to bring it up. This is becoming a growing problem all around. I think Christians are going to start to experience a lot more persecution as we see what just happened this past week up north in Canada, where the NBA actually has one of their franchises, right? I'm going to read this little clip it from this article in the CBC, which is a Canadian, from basically it's Canadian press. The article was entitled "Contentious Anti-Hate Legislation Passes Final Vote in the House and now moves to the Senate." It was talking about the liberal government's political contentious new anti-hate bill has passed its final hurdle in the House of Commons and now will go to the Senate. The bill C-9, dubbed the Combating Hate Act, proposes new criminal code offenses, including one that will make it a crime to intentionally promote hatred against identifiable groups in public using certain hate or terrorism related symbols. The bill passed the third reading with support of the Bloc Quebecus on Wednesday night. Conservatives and the NDP voted against the legislation. The Liberals got bloc support by including a clause that would remove the religious exemption from Canada's hate speech law. The criminal code currently includes an exemption for hate speech if, in good faith, the person expressed or attempted to establish by an argument an opinion on a religious subject or an opinion based on belief in religious texts. The conservatives aggressively pushed back against the inclusion of the clause that would remove that exemption, arguing it amounted to an assault on religious freedoms. And so up north, that bill C9 sounds like it's gonna pass the Senate very soon. From my understanding, it seems like it's quite the formality at this point, which would make religious speech in Canada, certain religious speech for sure, certain scriptures in the Bible for sure, considered hate speech, and so persecution will follow, which is crazy because that hits so close to home. Like, how close is America to that? And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this up as well, is because if there's like even the connotation, the suggestion that the reason he might have been knocked out of the league was because of something he said rather than just his play. That's problematic because that's the beginning. Because like they wouldn't have kicked him out if he would have just came out as if he would just been like, I just want to make this announcement. I'm coming out as as gay or whatever and something like that. They would not have kicked him out of the league for that. So why is there certain like like maybe it's the way that he said those things for sure. He needed to be seasoned with salt. I get that, but it's starting to drift in our culture in this way, and it's something that as a watchtower, a lookout post, we need to be aware of.
Yeah, and so Chris, I appreciate your stance, and I think I stand with you, and I stand with almost any person who of genuine belief would feel probably the same way anyone of genuine background in the pride community would feel if their beliefs are targeted, right? And so I think what we're looking at here is truly we can learn and we can grow and we can live in the words of our God, our King, our Lord, right? And Jesus says it here. I just want to pull it up real quick. Matthew 10:21. It says that brother will deliver brother over to death and father his child. And so what Jesus is saying here is there's this intense division or betrayal or severe persecution, and that can even happen within families. So if it can happen within families, it will happen outside of the family structure. And so us as believers, we can't be surprised. We can't be surprised when persecution comes our way for standing on the very things that we say we stand on. And so that's part of my concern is this is there will come a time where we will be persecuted, where we will be judged for the beliefs that we stand on, for the truth that we live by. But here's the problem. We can't let that become a surprise to us. Because not only has it been prophesied before Jesus, but when Jesus walked here on this earth and discipled the 12 and spoke to the crowds and fed the crowds and left his impact. When God left his impact here on humanity as human in the flesh form, he did it all while being persecuted. I mean, even those whom he chose, right? If you look at it historically, biblically, contextually from the Bible, his chosen people, the Hebrew nation, were literally guilty of putting Jesus on the cross and crucifying him. Like, what more do you need to see than his own beloved putting him on the cross to death. And so that is the beauty, though, behind this faith. That is the beauty behind this belief system. Is regardless of the persecution that not may come but will come, we have to stand firm on truth. And we have to do it in a way where we show that Jesus is the overcomer and he is the only way to heaven and he is the only way, only truth, the only life, right? We have to do it in a way where we recognize that even if it costs me my job, it costs me my family, it costs me my home, it costs me my savings, it costs me my life. We have to stand on truth because we live in a world that's just temporary. We know that. And all of our days are numbered. And if we get too wrapped up or too concerned with the position of the watchtower, sometimes we tend to overlook. And I'm not saying you're doing this, Chris. So please understand where I'm coming from. If we get too caught up with the position on the watchtower, sometime we some at some point we may actually miss the target that's headed right for us. And so we have to embrace that target. We have to embrace that persecution, just like Jesus did. He could have he could have called down legions of angels and pulled them off that cross and kept it moving and wiped out an entire population. but he didn't because he did it in love. He did it in grace. He did it in mercy. He did it in the big picture. He understood that the persecution that he was dealing with in the moment was no matchup to eternity. And we have to stand on that same idea, that same notion. And I leave my statement with this, and I want to hear more, or we could go on, whatever. It says this, and I shared this in the group chat, and other people actually shared this. But Matthew 5, this is Jesus, right? The Beatitudes. I'm going to be talking on this in the coming weeks. Matthew 5, 10, 11 says this: Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. Righteousness being the position in right standing with God. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Not will be. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets before you. This isn't new. This isn't anything that is like shocking. This has been going on since sin entered the world. And we can't be shocked by it. We can't be fazed by it. We can't be moved by it. We have to stand firm on truth, firm on a foundation, and do it seasoned, as you all have said, with love and with mercy and with grace.
Amen, Josh. I'll give a final word to you, Zeke, if you want, before we move on. Okay,
I'm
let's
also
the next one up on the screen.
All right, we got MLB. Peasy, your favorite.
Yes, sir. So, do we have the actual video for that?
I have the video, but it's going to be quiet. But you can talk about what's going on in this video.
You know what? We don't even need to talk about what's
No, no, let's talk about this a little bit, Peasy, just a tiny bit.
so anyway. Well, you guys can read. Bo Bichette getting booed in his first homestand as the MLB season officially kicked off. He's 2 for 19 now, but I don't think he had a single hit in that first homestand. Um, I know he had a couple RBIs just because he had like some kind of sacrifice fly. And I think he had also another RBI on a ground out. But nothing a productive or our prize off-season free agent. And so Mets fans don't matter. 3 games into the season, they're letting them have it. And so,
These
I'm sorry,
numbers are for 5 games, by the way.
yeah, those 2 for 19 is for 5 games now. Yeah, yeah. But he got booed after his third game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It didn't take Mets fans very long, and so I know that Dave he wants to give me a lot of flack for that, but I'll throw it out there. Is it too soon for a new acquisition to be getting that kind of treatment? Get ahead, Dave. Let me have it.
I mean, here's the thing, man. It's the dude is new in town, man. It's like, you guys spent the whole winter watching all of these clips about how great Bo Bichette was and all the highlights and all of the stolen bases and the defensive plays. You guys was sold a dream. You know what I'm saying? You weren't sold a lie. You were sold a dream, right? And he took the paycheck. He can get it, man. As soon as you take the paycheck, you're saying, hey, I agree. Do whatever you like. You know what I'm saying? I'm good with it. My skin is thick. I can take it. Oh, it's just passionate fans. You know what I mean? It's like all of that, right? I mean, look, Kyle Tucker went over to the Cubs, right? Left Houston, went over to the Cubs. Struggled last year. They gave the dude a week and a half off for a mental break because he was upset because the fans were booing him, right? What did that parlay for him? What's he getting over in LA right now? 40 million a year? 60?
Nah, 60.
60, 60 a year. A mental health break
Sign
in
me up.
the middle of the season, and he still didn't really do anything last year. It parlayed into big money for him. So, who am I to say that Kyle Tucker didn't need it? But what the point that I'm making though is that this kind of stuff, it seems to be kind of like, I don't know, it's rewarded. Like it's, I'm twofold with this. It's not too soon for him to get booed, right? But also on the other hand, you're gonna have the team kind of coddling them, these players a little bit to give them a break, blah blah blah. Nah, man, he yo man, he signed for big money. We want big things. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. Zeke was telling me that Luis Hill is pitching here in Rochester this weekend. He asked me, "Am I going to see him?" No, I'm not. I actually want the Yankees to trade him because he was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, and he hasn't done anything since. And he acts like a baby on the mound every time he gets into a pressure situation. Is that who we want on the? I don't want that on the team, man. So I have a disdain for Luis Hill every time I see him on the mound. And a lot of people, a lot of Yankee fans will come back at me because, oh, he's young, man, give him a break, blah blah blah. Nah, man, it's like, Rookie of the Year, bro. Show me. You the you know what I'm saying? Your ceiling is high now. Come on now. You got to show me something. You run one Rookie of the Year. I don't want to see the pouting on the mound and all of that stuff. So Bo Bichette, he took the check. He gets what he deserves.
That was not what I thought you were going to say with this topic. I'll tell you that much. This was not my topic, folks, ladies and gentlemen. This was not my topic. This was something that Dave wanted to bring. I thought it was going to be essentially a public crucifixion of Mets fans everywhere.
Nah, man.
I am as shocked as anyone that he took that stance. But I will throw it to Zeke so he can finish the job. Dave, for some reason, did not. Go ahead, Zeke. Let me have it.
Yeah, Mets fans are delusional. Um,
There you go, Zeke.
after 3 games, you're gonna boo the man because he got off to a rough start. That's a little much. But to his credit, he came out and said something along the lines of, "What took y'all so long?" I would have been booing sooner. So I don't think he's gonna fold like Dave was talking about with Luis Hill. I mean, we saw this with um, I think it was Trey Turner last year. The Phillies fans were booing him, and he actually came out and apologized to Philly fans. And the next game, they cheered the heck out of him, and it kind of turned the season around. Um, I'm not saying Bo got to go out and apologize, but I do think Mets fans need to just the track record speaks for itself. And one thing Brian Snicker used to say, he was the coach of the Braves. He always used to say when players were in a slump like that, the back of the baseball card doesn't lie, and eventually those numbers are gonna get back to what you're expecting. It was 3 games into the season. He started what 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts or something like that. Um, it is what it is. I mean, I can't. I didn't look in to see who he was pitching, seeing if it was top level pitching or whatever. Um, it takes batters a little while to get into the swing of things. I'm not sure what his numbers were in spring training, but I think Mets fans need to just simmer down. Um, come June or July, when you're getting Bo Bichette like numbers, you'll be just fine, and you'll be cheering him all over the place because Bo Bichette is no slouch. I was kind of hoping the Braves would go pick him up, but they don't spend money, so um, it kind of sucked to see him land in New York because now you got to deal with him for the next few years. um, 13 times a year, or however many games we play there. So, um, Bo's gonna be fine. Mets fans, just relax. The sky ain't falling yet. Eventually, the sky will cave in because the Mets are gonna Met, but it's not gonna be Bo's fault.
And let's not forget that Bo Bichette is the son of Dante Bichette. Dante Bichette was not a punk when he played ball. He
At
don't.
all.
This kid don't. He don't come from punk stock, so he'll be fine.
Yeah. Man, and the response shows that I think he's built for New York. Unlike some players that have folded under the spotlight, he's just having a little bit of a struggle to open the season. I think long term he'll be okay. Um,
Man, don't talk about Juan Soto like that. Y'all paid a
Oh,
lot of money for him, man. That's disrespectful.
who's talking about Juan
Well,
Soto?
You
they did the
were.
same thing with Juan Soto. They did the same thing with Francisco Lindor. This is what the Mets fans do. Is just I don't get it, and I don't understand why players keep. I know why players keep going there is because dudes spending money like it's going out of style. But I mean, all money ain't good money.
Unless
So
they can convert some of their pay into casino chips, they'll be able to do that in the next couple of years.
bro,
right,
you can send me 126 million. You could boo me, throw popcorn at me. I don't Coney Island dogs. I don't care what it is. 126 million dollars. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Boo all you
that's
want.
facts though. That's definitely facts, bro. But I don't think even when he starts playing better, I've been watching the Mets the first 5 games of this year. I I know we're 3-2. I do not think it's going to matter. That team looks awful. Like I thought it was bad when we lost Pete Alonso because y'all know how I was freaking out on the podcast. We lost Pete, we lost Nemo. Y'all saw me freak out like, man, what are the Mets doing? A lot of Mets fans have come back around and they're like, yo, this is a squad. I am not one of those fans. I don't I am not optimistic. Especially after watching these first 5 games because when we were giving our predictions, I actually thought that two of the worst teams in the MLB were probably going to be the Pirates. Or not, maybe not the Pirates. I thought they were on the upswing, but I definitely thought it would probably be the Cardinals. We just lost the series to the Cardinals, and we struggled mightily against the Pirates. We had to win a couple of those games in like extras, and so like, nah, this
It's early, man.
it's
You
early.
guys will be fine, bro. It's
We got no
early.
big boppers, man. It's just it's going. I already see it. You know what team looks impressive? The Marlins, Phillies. They're gonna do their thing. I, I would not be surprised if you were right and the Mets finish fourth. I could see that as one of the very likely outcomes, especially after the first 5 games this year.
Yeah.
But I still think Dodgers winning it all. So it didn't matter if we were good or we were bad. Dodgers winning the whole thing. Um, but let's keep moving. Paul Skeens, his odds drop significantly. Is that overreaction, guys? His first.
it's extreme overreaction. Did anybody see what Paul Skeens did today? Paul Skeens pitched like Paul Skeens today.
Yeah,
Paul
man.
Skeens lost that first game because he had O'Neal Cruz playing center field. Those 5 runs that got attributed to Paul Skeens were all because of O'Neal Cruz. And if I was the official scorekeeper for that game, those would have been 2 errors, and those 5 runs would not have gone against Paul Skeens. Yeah, he has some control issues, but O'Neal Cruz was playing center field like he was allergic to catching the ball. So yeah, that first game was definitely an overreaction. Paul Skeens went out today and did Paul Skeens things. Paul Skeens is going to be just fine. Come July, he's going to be starting the All Star game for the third straight year, and he's going to be one of the front runners, if not the top dog for Cy Young. So
Bro,
yeah,
bro,
over.
Zeke would have made O'Neal Cruz the first non-pitcher to have a 6 ERA.
Heck yeah, that dude was trash that game, man.
Man,
Yeah,
listen. If I owned the team, O'Neal Cruz, he would have been cutting the grass out there before the game, man. Seriously, I'd be like, man, listen, man, you need some more grass time, man. For real, what's going on with you?
but real talk though, if O'Neal Cruz is going to be a problem in center field, that's his center fielder right now, and so like that's an ongoing problem.
But he's
Well,
not. Isn't
see,
he
they had
naturally a second baseman, uh,
he came in as a shortstop.
shortstop?
He couldn't cut it there, so they put him in center field. That looks like trash. If it wasn't they had Marcelo Zuna, they probably could put him at DH, but I don't know what they're gonna do with this kid. He's young still, so can he get better? Yeah, but I mean, you looking at he's out there with no sunglasses, and there's nothing but bright sun. The whole like it was a beautiful day that day, and I'm looking at him like he doesn't have any sunglasses, and every time the ball went up, like right around the time he's supposed to be catching it, he's cowering down in the fetal position because he thinks he's gonna get smashed in the head with the ball. and it drops right next to him or drops
Zeke is
behind
so right, bro. You know what was crazy is that the very next inning, he still didn't have sunglasses and he battled with it the next inning. If you're the coach, don't you throw those sunglasses on his face and like
You
put
would think
super glue and
so.
stick them there?
You would think so, but I mean, I don't know. It is the Pirates,
It
so
is that is a fact. It is the Pirates. Okay, so around the baseball league, first week into the season, what do you guys think of ABS and what's happening with my man CB Buckner? Essentially missing 20 calls, five of which was overturned in the game. To raucous, the crowd went crazy. It was another like you hear crowds cheer for home runs. You never hear them cheer the way they cheered to just rub it in CB Buckner's face that like, bro, you got that call wrong, but now there's something we can do about it. Boo! It was crazy, bro.
Did you see the game last night though? Did you guys see the call last night
that
about?
one was worse.
Chris,
That,
tell me
that one
that
was
you
worse
saw
than
that.
anything he did behind the plate.
He was the first base.
Oh, when he missed first base.
He said the guy
Yeah,
Yes,
missed
yes,
yeah.
I saw that.
first
I saw that.
base. Bro, did you see the replay?
Explain
My
it to
man,
the or
There
to
was
wasn't there
the
wasn't an
audience.
inch of first base that this dude did not touch when he crossed it, man. He was smack dab in the middle of the bag. And then the coaches were laughing after the call got overturned. The coaches were like looking at each other, cracking up.
Okay, so for
And
those
CB was standing around
who
looking
didn't
like I
see it, let
told
me
y'all, man. I'm
explain the
like, the dude looked like he thought he was at his grandkids' little league game or something, man.
let me explain the context to the audience since we don't have the video to show them. During the game last night, CB Buckner wasn't behind the plate calling balls and strikes. He was the first base ump. And so his job is to call, what happens at the play at first, whether he's safe. And so I forget how it played out. I think it was an overthrow, right? And so it
yeah.
was overthrow with first base. The guy touches first base and he doesn't veer towards second. He comes back. They tag him, and CB Buckner calls him out not because he veered towards second, but because he missed. He considered that he missed first base entirely. Oh, you got it. He says he missed first base entirely. And so afterwards, when they did the replay, the video shows not only did he not miss first base entirely, but he touched the entire bag. And it also shows that CB Buckner wasn't even looking in that direction like he should have been.
Staring
Why
off.
is he making that
Watch his
call?
watch his face after they make the call, man. Watch it. Just watch how he's acting, man. This is ridiculous, man. I wish we had the audio, but it's all good. Look, they laughing at dude, man. Look at him, man.
Is my
Like
man
what?
about to
What I
rage
do?
quit? Because you know what happened in today's game. Did you see what happened to CB Buckner?
Look at this. My gosh.
Touches the base completely. Is barely looking at it.
He
Barely
wasn't
looking at
even
the plate.
looking, man.
Where's his eyes? And so
Look at him, dude.
what happened in today's game, and we don't wish anything ill to CB Buckner. But in today's game, he took a foul ball straight off the
Wait,
mask.
what?
He took a foul ball straight off the mask in today's game. He was behind the plate again, and he had to leave the stadium.
Did they
Uh,
cheer him off?
I'm sorry.
Did they cheer him off?
I don't know if they cheered him off. I do know that he went down on one knee as he was clearly shaken up by the foul ball hitting smack dab
Look,
off the middle
look
of
at
his
them laughing
Look,
at him,
bro,
man. They laughing at him.
God
Look,
is trying to send him a
that
message. I
part
hope
is
he
the
hearing
funny
it.
part
It's
where the
time to retire.
managers are looking at each other. Usually
look,
they're arguing with each other. They're
bro.
looking at each other
These
and
are opposite managers looking at each other,
yeah,
laughing at this
yeah,
dude,
that
man.
cannot be
These are rivals laughing
rivals,
at the
rivals.
the, the umpire together.
And just clowning my man CB. Is this man about to rage quit? Are more umpires about to rage quit as they have to undergo this kind of scrutiny? Do you think we're going to see that, Dave?
I don't think rage quitting, but I said this before. The umpires I think were in the league were welcoming of ABS because they don't think they're ever wrong. So the idea of bringing it in was to make the players look bad. Yeah, they're gonna look like morons when they see how great we make these calls, right? Well, how many games are we in right now? 6 games in, and ABS is cooking right now, man. It really is. The Yankees were 5 for 5 the other night on calls. Last night, I believe, 5 for 5 on on calls at the plate. Bad calls. Now, here's another thing. I'll say this: these tenth of an inch calls where the ball is like so close. I mean, I feel bad for the umps on those calls because those are borderline calls, man. They really are. And also, I heard too that ABS picks up half of the back part of the plate, that it doesn't pick up the wedge. So a ball that breaks over the plate and it drops into the zone, it hits the zone on the back end and the wedge. ABS is picking that up as out of the zone when it's
Mm.
actually a strike. So I don't know how you get past that. But what I do know is some of these calls are so egregious, man. The female umpire, Jen, whatever her name is, bro. I mean,
Can I ask a
bro,
question?
come
Middle,
on, man.
middle.
The pitch could have blown the catcher's chest out. It was right over the plate. It was so much over the plate, and she called it a ball.
Can I
And
ask
I'm
a
like,
question?
what are we doing? What are we doing? So
So
ABS is cooking right now. I think the umpires are too prideful. I don't even see CB Buckner folding. I don't see him leaving. I don't. Well, I'm gonna tell you what I would have loved. I would have loved for Angel Hernandez. Now he was smart. He got out
Ooh.
because he knew. He was like,
He
man,
got out when the going was good. He saw the writing on the wall.
he was like, it's not. I'm not.
This ain't it.
Yeah,
let
this
me
is the Titanic, and I'm not going down with it.
let
Go
me
ahead,
ask
Josh.
you guys a question. So some of those calls. So I was watching some of the replays that you guys were talking about, and then it came across my feed where what did you say? Like he missed 20 plus calls that game, and what I was noticing during all of these is something that we've discussed about, which is the what is that framing, right?
Framing.
Where
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
catchers frame the pitch, bro. I still think that a lot of pitchers. This proves that pitchers or sorry, umps were literally relying on this framing method to
indeed.
call the
Absolutely.
pitch. And
Absolutely.
so and so for me, that's where I'm like, how is it really the ump's fault? Because the catchers are, in my mind, right? I'm going to call it cheating, even though it's not. It's part of the game. These catchers are framing pitches, and how can you truly blame umpires if the catchers are the reason that these calls are being called that way?
So I mean, there are some catchers who are really good at framing pitches. Um, and there are some umpires who do get fooled a lot by that.
Yeah,
Um, ABS, I mean, is meant to combat that, but you still gotta be strategic with it. Like I was watching a Braves game the other day. 4 batters into the game, we lost both of our challenges. Drake Baldwin challenged the ball, or he challenged the pitch in the top of the first that he lost, and then Ronald Acuna challenged a pitch that he thought was outside of the zone that ended up being inside the zone. So you still got to be strategic with it because you lose those challenges, and all of a sudden they can go back to doing what they were doing before ABS, working the edges of the zone, having catchers frame the pitch. But even if I mean this first weekend, I think was kind of an extension of the experiment in spring training. We're going to see a lot of teams be more judicious about it, and unless it's something crazy egregious, you're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see these used until like the later innings in the game. So catchers are still going to be framing, and batters are still going to be relying on umpires not to get fooled.
Hmm.
Which was a lot of the argument that people had against, "Oh, you're taking away the art of framing." No, you're not. You just if you're so egregious with it. I mean, how many times, Dave, Chris, we're watching a game and we've seen a ball that was darn near in the dirt, and the catcher is yanking it back up to the middle of the strike zone. something like that you want to get rid of. But
Yeah.
those borderline pitches where it looks like might have been a ball, but then you look at ABS and it's like, oh, the last seam on the baseball caught the strike zone. All right, technically that's a strike. You want the right call? Let's get it right. You're gonna take the risk and call and challenging it. Let's see what happens. It's gonna be a lot of gamesmanship going on, and I think it's just another added wrinkle to the game that I think makes it interesting. So
Yeah, I get that. I understand. Like you're limited to the number of I guess,
as long as you get them right, you got unlimited challenges.
and that's where I'm looking at like this because if you're at bat, you're the batter. You're probably going to know your strike zone the best, and you're going to get a good feel for it. And if you have a true good feel for your strike zone, you can almost bank on ABS being your safety net in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, you saw
Yes
what
and no.
Leonel Suarez did to CB Buckner the other day. Back to back calls. CB Buckner tried to ring him up, and Suarez was like, "Nah, bro, check
Yeah,
those back to back." And that's when the crowd started cheering because back to back times he emphatically rang him up, and then had to say, "Oh, my bad, we were wrong."
he didn't even
So
look like he said my
yeah,
bad, but
Heat of the moment. Sometimes, like you want something not to be a strike so bad, and that's why you end up. That's not a strike, and no, that was a strike, bro. You didn't see it correctly, and
yeah.
some batters have better eyes than others. But we
one trend I did notice is teams aren't letting pitchers really use the challenges. It's either going to be the batter or the catcher because pitchers they think everything they throw is a strike.
yeah
We've seen 7 pitcher challenges, and only 3 of them have been won. So
Interesting.
they got a losing record right now. I don't see that being used too much by pitchers.
yeah. Interestingly enough, like the amount of successful challenges is not as high as maybe people might have suspected that it would be, and that I think it's like at 54%.
53.7.
54%, but the batters average dragged that down. Catchers and pitchers are at darn near 60%.
Right.
Batters are below 50% right now. So
Yep. And so,
it seems like the catchers have the better knowledge of the strike zone because I watched Salvador Perez the other day just pretty much give my man a lesson on what the bottom of the zone is supposed to be. I think he went like 3 for 3 or 4 for 4,
yeah.
just overturning calls. So
And some of those averages are gonna stay a little bit on the artificially lower as teams like, hey, we might as well use it or we're gonna lose it towards the end of the game on a hope and a prayer type challenges. So you're gonna see that as well as people don't want to like go down having those in their pocket like the red flag kind of in the NFL. But yeah, we've seen a lot of firsts this week. The first baseball game was an Orioles game where the last play of the game was a challenge called strike three. And so, we've had a number of firsts the opening week of the MLB season. But one thing that was not a first was our very next topic, unfortunately, which was Tiger Woods again getting into a car accident. And this time, as I believe it was last time, it's under the suspicion of, driving under the influences. Officers said that he was, slurring his words a little bit and whatnot. And so, yeah, I think that headline says it best itself. Fellas, as rich as Tiger Woods is it just time for him to get a permanent, either Uber or permanent Butler? I mean, the guy is, he's rich, filthy rich. Um, Zeke, you're big into golf. Is there any redemption story you see on the horizon here, or what do you make of all this?
um Tiger was Kanye before Kanye was Kanye. And the fact that if we go back over Tiger's timeline, I think a big part of his downfall was when his father died. Um, Earl was kind of like a stabilizing force for Tiger. And um, I don't know if it was just depression from losing his father or the fact that he didn't have that that guiding light anymore, or maybe a little bit of both. But everything started going downhill after we were not too long after he lost his father. That's when he lost his marriage, and his golf game started falling apart. He started going through caddies like he was changing his underwear. Um, and then we see the multiple car accidents where we find that he was hopped up on some kind of medications or whatever. Um, One of them where I think it was he almost lost his leg, let alone his life. Like he's been in bad shape ever since he lost Earl. Um, I, he needs more than an Uber driver. Tiger needs serious help all around. Um, and he did recently announce that he's going to be taking some time away from. He was talking about trying to get back for the Masters, which is next week. Uh, I really hope I don't see him playing
Yeah.
any significant golf anytime soon. The man needs help. He needs to get some kind of stability back in his life. I know he was at one point talking about focusing on being a father. He's got a daughter and a son. His son just committed to Florida State to play golf. Um, as much as I love seeing Tiger on the golf course, maybe it's just time for him to step back until he's ready to join the Champions Tour and just focus on not only being a better father, but being a better man, a better person.
Mhm.
Because it's only so many times where you can see a car that Tiger Woods was driving flipped over and he walked away with his life.
Facts.
And I mean, I see y'all chuckling, but I'm being dead serious right
I'm
now. Like
being serious too. This dude
Right.
tearing up cars,
you can
man.
only roll the dice for so many times, man. Eventually, the Reaper gonna come and say, "All right, bro, you've been trying so hard for me to take you. Here we go. Let's go for a ride." So I really hope he gets the help that he needs. I really hope he gets some kind of support system um, that can kind of keep him from spiraling. I don't know if he needs to find purpose in, like I said, being a father. You got these super competitive athletes like this where, I mean, the man was on top of the world for years, and all of a sudden everything just started spiraling, and it seems like he's just been trying to chase that high ever since. You got to find purpose in something else after a while. So find purpose in being a better dad. You got a girlfriend. Find purpose in being a better partner. Um, see what I don't know. Just find happiness somewhere, but it ain't in the bottle. Whether it's alcohol or pills, it ain't there, bro. So
Yeah.
as a fan, I would love to see him on the course, but I would love to see him die of old age and not another accident.
He was actually just granted by a judge permission to leave the U.S. for treatment. So Zeke, you won't be seeing him in the next coming weeks playing any golf.
I'm cool with that.
And I'll throw this. I'll throw this to either you or Josh, whoever wants to take this. But which one of you got, or let's just say it like this: what do you think of the growing narrative that perhaps Tiger Woods' dependence on uh, drugs, if you will, right, or is due
Controlled
to
substances.
Substance.
substances. We'll call them substances, right? Substances might be due to the litany of injuries that he's had, pain management. We've seen this happen with other athletes, and as they get addicted to like the oxycodone or the oxycontin and stuff like that, that they give you for pain. How much of this is Tiger, like, maybe what Zeke was saying was that, like, man, he needs to find some kind of sense of purpose other than, deteriorating golf, because we know what that can do to your mental when you're not great anymore. And how much of this is some of the fallout from some of the injuries that he's had that is starting to now, cost him later in life.
It wouldn't surprise me if he was just constantly walking around in pain. He's had so many surgeries done on his body between the back and his leg, and I mean, like I know we talk about he almost lost his leg, but he had to have his like fusion surgeries in his back. Like the man has been under the knife so many times. Again, trying to get back on the golf course. where I think it's to the point where, you know what, maybe golf ain't it no more. I've when it looked like he wasn't going to be able to compete competitively on the regular PGA tour, I was looking forward to see him in the Champions Tour with the older golfers, and seeing if he could still do it where the rules are a little less strict and the courses are a little less demanding. Now it's like, dude, have the surgery, but slow down on the rehab. Stop trying to get back on the golf course and just look at improving your quality of life, man. And to the point where you don't have to be working so hard that, yeah, you had the surgeries, but you're in pain because you out in the weight room and doing all the rehab, and now you gotta pop some more pills. And I mean, I like Dave was saying earlier about Jason Williams. He during his rehab, he got hopped up on pills and had to break that addiction. When you rich like that and you got access to the top medicine in the world and it's easily accessible, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he got bottles and bottles and bottles of pain medication. But I mean, you gotta find another way to cope, man. I don't know.
Well, fellas, let me make sure that we can get to all the topics that we want today. Let's that was very well said, Zeke. Let's move on from that one. Let's jump into our March Madness topic. Uh,
March
fellas, did you
Madness
guys?
is officially over.
Well, yeah, today's the first day of April, and so we can officially summarize March
Nah,
Madness.
the tournament is a wrap. You didn't hear it got canceled.
Okay,
Stop, man.
yeah, seriously. Um, and so did you guys see that play? And I mean, shout out to Duke for being in the position that they were with the Boozer boys. But my goodness, did you see that shot from out of nowhere,
Out of state.
out of state? And I feel bad for if you guys didn't catch it. The Duke was up big, like 15 points at half, and they kind of let the game melt away. A lot of people are saying that the coach of UConn, Dan Hurley, completely outcoached John Shire of the Blue Devils. And so, right now he's receiving a lot of flack for having some of the most talented players and rosters in the sport and not being able to get them to that big level. But as we all know, that's kind of college basketball. It's not always who's got the most talent. A lot of things are very fluky. But I mean, what an incredible finish! I will say this. I'll throw this to you, Dave. I'll let you take the first bite of this apple. But uh, did UConn win that game in your opinion, or did Duke lose? And what are your thoughts on if the coach of Duke should keep his job? Yeah, here it is. Here,
We've seen
uh,
this play hundreds of times. Why we gotta replay it, Josh?
that's an incredible.
Cause like
Smash.
that is a play of beauty though. Like,
You know, it's crazy. It was nothing but
Beauty
net.
is in the eye
Look
of the
at it,
beholder, and I see nothing but ugliness.
oh,
nothing but net.
of course, well
So
said
Crazy.
from a
so let
Duke
me let me
fan.
hit it real quick.
Yeah.
It goes both ways, PZ. Okay, Dan Hurley definitely outcoached. But you have to remember, a lot of times what we forget is that when we're watching these, even the football team, man, even the football players at these college, at these universities, these are kids. It doesn't matter how big they are. It doesn't matter how full their beard is. Some of these kids are 18 to 21, 22 years old, man. They're kids. And what happens is they even though they play in these packed stadiums, filled to the brim in front of all of these famous people, all this history at all these stadiums and stuff. At the end of the day, when they walk into the locker room, they're kids. When they walk out of the locker room, they're kids with uniforms on, right? The coach could say stuff to them 1,000 times. When they get out there and it's time to execute, they're kids. They fold under the pressure, and the instructions go right out the window, man. And I think in this situation, if it's a travesty of Duke's, all of those great coaches on Duke's team, if they didn't know that they didn't have to advance that ball past the half court line, all they had to do was just throw it in, hold it, and get fouled. If they didn't know that, all of them need to be fired. All right, so we're looking at a D row situation with the World Baseball Classic here. It's like, how do you not know that? So, and if they did know it and they were instructed, then it just boils down to the fact that they're kids. I don't want to take this moment away from UConn, man, because they went out there and they played ball. Yeah, they were down big, but they played ball. They played all the way to the last shot, and it was a beautiful shot. And Zeke, I know you don't want people talking about how dope this shot was, man, and hating on Duke, but man, you know what? I can't stand Duke, man. I've never liked Duke, and you can blame Dick Vitale for that. Diggy V, baby, the number Duke's number one cheerleader.
Man.
Josh, you want to jump in there?
No, man. I'm piggybacking off of what Dave said a little bit. Just living in the moment, being that kid, man. That with that last shot from outer space, like just let that man just bask in the glory of that shot. Like that's just it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Well deserved.
Well, we
Well,
already know how Zeke feels just by his expression. It says everything. And so we'll jump into
Listen, nah, I got something I got to say. All right.
say what you
First
just.
of all, Duke absolutely lost that game. It wasn't UConn winning the game. Duke lost the game. You look at the turnovers in the game, all right? Duke had 13 turnovers. 8 of those came in the second half. I
Mm.
don't know what they did when they went to the locker room, but that was a completely different team when they came out for the second half. All right. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if it's John Shire because I mean, yeah, he was a great player when he was in his time, but John Shire ain't wore a pair of basketball shorts in a long time, so I can't fully put this on him. All right, he wasn't out there turning the ball over. He wasn't out there missing shots. Who I do want to blame, and y'all got to understand me as a sports fan because we're all sports fans, and even though we claim Christianity and we proclaim Christ, we all got a little superstitious in us, right? Check it. When CBS put up that graphic about how number one seeds
Oh yeah,
were 134 and 0
yeah,
when leading by 15 or more at halftime, my heart dropped.
yeah, man.
And I said, we about to lose this game.
They did them in, man.
And to the very last second, I still held out hope until we all saw what just transpired in that clip Josh posted. So it was a combination of a lot. The players went out, and I don't know if they got overconfident and felt like they could just coast to the finish line, like UConn wasn't the defending champs or whatever. I don't know if I really don't know what happened. They were a completely different team from what I saw in the first half. But if we since we passing around blame, CBS gets some of it too. They suck. I hate them. Um, John Shire, no, he shouldn't lose his job. I just saw something on the ticker. Bill Self is coming back for his 24th season. He has 2 national championships. That means he has 22 years where he didn't win a national championship. So, yeah, John Shire is a young coach. He has plenty of time to make up for this. I firmly believe that he's going to learn from this. There are plenty of heartbreaking games that Coach K lost. And if they'd cut him or fired him after the first couple, he wouldn't be Coach K. He'd be Mike Krzyzewski because we wouldn't even take the time to figure out how to pronounce his name properly. So yeah, John Shire, he's fine by me. But yeah, that was just an utter complete meltdown, and I'm mad I watched it, and I'm kind of glad they lost because now there's just one less distraction from baseball season.
And
Exactly.
finally, before we end the podcast, I think it's appropriate since we talked a little bit about the Mets and how you know how our fans were so terrible for mocking. Let's talk. Let's shift over to the Yankees a little bit here. I appreciate you, Dave, for putting that in the production notes here because that's something I forgot about, and I would
Yeah,
love to
man.
end the
Speak on it,
podcast
man.
with this conversation. Yankees putting tampons in the men's bathrooms in Yankee Stadium. I mean, how appropriate is that? I mean, if you're a Yankees fan, you probably need a tampon. Let's just be real. Let's just be real.
Oh my gosh, bro! Every last one of those things are going to end up on the field at some point. I'm telling you, we're going to have a catastrophic loss. That's really not that catastrophic. It's just going to be like Boone is going to pull a starter like in 4 innings after we're up by like 8 runs, and then we're going to go on to lose the game and exhaust the bullpen. It's going to happen. The tampons are going to end up on the field, and I have no idea. So I do have an idea, but it's just better just left alone, man. Like just the insanity of the fact that okay, so the whole thing says that the New York Yankees are partnering with Sequel to provide free, high performance spiral tampons in Yankee Stadium restrooms, including the men's room, for the 2026 season. This initiative aims to improve inclusive access to menstrual products for all fans. Yeah. So I'm supposed to be
That yeah was
I'm
perfect.
supposed
Hey, that, we
I'm
could
supposed to be going
podcast
to
on that. Yeah,
I'm supposed to be going to Yankee Stadium for my grandson's birthday this year. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring one back to show off on the podcast. Who knows? You know, they might have the logo on them, so you just never know.
It's a collector's item at that point,
that's
Dave.
right. Right.
Facts. I throw one on the shelf back there. You know.
That's
Get it
right.
signed.
Some
Get it
people
signed
like to
by
take
Judge before
the
you come back.
stadium. Yankee fans take tampons from the men's bathroom. That's just how it
Whatever,
goes, man.
man. And then don't forget. Let's end on this. Go ahead and read the last story, Chris.
Now we don't need to read the last story. That should be the last story.
If you don't, I will.
Guys, thanks for joining us on this podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. Start playing that music, Josh.
Hey Dave, what's the last story, man? I want to hear it.
And the last story is George Washington sang the national anthem at the Mets game and messed up the lyrics. All right.
Oh,
So my question is this an omen on the Mets season this year? And I'll go into a little more detail and we'll get out of here. Is it an omen? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
I mean, it's the Mets. They were going to Met anyway, but maybe they'll just happen sooner now.
Chris?
Maybe, Dave, he needed a tampon and was at the wrong stadium.
Oh boy, here we go.
Maybe. We don't
Oh.
know. Perhaps he just needed a little protection in the land down under.
So anyway, let me read this, man, because you're wilding right now. So Hamilton star Christopher Jackson flubbed the MLB national anthem performance with the wrong lyrics at the Mets game. So basically, during the rendition, he left out the words or the ramparts we watched, but instead repeated the previous lines, whose broad stripes and bright stars. He repeated that twice. And hey, man, listen, I want to make fun of this guy, man. The only reason I'm talking about this is because it happened at a Mets game. And yes, it absolutely is an omen for the Mets this year. On top of losing Pete Alonso, on top of having Daddy Cohen as an owner who fleeced y'all so he could build a casino and sold y'all a pipe dream, right? The only reason that I'm talking about this, man, is because it's very hard to sing the national anthem. It's easy to do it from your seat, but when they march you out on that field, man, you have to do it live. I think a lot of us might mess that up, man. Seriously, it's a lot of pressure, man. It really is, because a lot of those people look at it as a resume builder. Not that this guy needed it. I mean, he's been on Broadway in Hamilton, but it is a cool thing to get, especially if you're a Mets fan, to get called and asked to do that in character. But he made George Washington look like a sucker, man. So that's all I got.
Bro, it's not an omen. Okay, stop. You know what's an
On the
omen
dog.
for the Mets? I'll give you this. What's an omen for the Mets? Is the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. Because it's also an omen for all of baseball because they are winning the World Series this year. It does not matter about a little national anthem singing. They weren't going to win the World Series anyway. the season was done when the Dodgers like assembled like all of the Infinity Stones. It's over. it's just done. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week. I hope you had a great time. I hope you join us next week on Wednesday. Zeke, you got something you want to add?
Yeah, just a quick shout out. I know every now and then my mom pops in. Yesterday was my parents' 43rd marriage anniversary.
Oh,
So
Nice.
if
yay.
you're watching, happy anniversary
Happy
from the Opps
anniversary to Mama
SportsCast.
J. Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, and a quick shout out to my niece, Leilani Calixto. She won the Rochester Miss Puerto Rico, and so that was kind of something. I didn't even know she could dance like that. The kid is amazing. My first niece. So love you, baby. Congratulations, and yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, of course, and also on Instagram. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us. Peace, peace.
Peace.